What common sense is actually wrong? Sometimes, when someone is having a bad day, it's better to just listen and agree rather than offer logical advice. When I worked in spectator event safety, we learned sports stadia that when an evacuation is happening, the safest place to go to is the playing field, as it is usually open air and therefore low risk if it is a fire evacuation. However, common sense takes over crowd dynamics and people try leaving the way they came in, from the other side of the building. So this common sense trait results in thousands of people flocking into burning buildings. An example of this was the Bradford City Stadium fire. A huge chunk of the crowd headed back into the burning stadium looking for exits despite open air, the pitch being meters in front of them. Don't go to bed angry. Me and my husband ignoring this rule has saved our marriage. Do you know how many stupid fights are caused by being tired? The slower and more defensive you drive, the better. Couldn't be further from the truth. You need a mix of defensive and offensive to truly be safe. Keep traffic flowing, and to prevent bottlenecks. Do not, ever, wait 24 hours before filing a missing persons report. If you have a reasonable suspicion that something happened to someone, call immediately. In crime shows, when they say the first 24 hours are crucial in a missing child case, they're not making it up. Ignore a bully and they'll leave you alone. No. They just see a weak target. Smack the S out of them if they already made it physical. Note, it is morally acceptable to nut punch when they've made it physical themselves. Going outside with wet hair will not make you get you sick. It will make you feel cold as hell though. Common sense says sun isn't out and it is cool outside. You don't have to worry about sunburns. Worst sunburn I ever got. Just because you're not fat doesn't mean you're in good shape. I've been vegetarian for 15 years. Everyone thinks this means I eat healthy. I don't. My diet is mostly pizza and pasta and whatever microwaves faster than it takes me to eat it afterwards. The harder you brush, the cleaner your teeth get. All you're gonna do is cause gum recession. I was 40 before my dentist told me to take it easy brushing my teeth. I thought it was normal having to replace a brush once a month. Put ice on a burn. Do not do this, it can rip the skin. Do put the burn under cool water immediately. They now recommend lukewarm water, as cold water can irritate the burn. It's not irritation. Hot skin is still elastic, and shocking it with cold makes it contract and take on a deformed and more painful shape. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Psychologists actually showed that it's the reverse. Which is why LDR are very hard. Out of sight, out of mind is more accurate. I think this is an accurate observation in short term for someone that you see so often that if you are apart for a few days then you actually miss them because they're part of your routine. Technically you miss the interaction until a new routine settles in. Running hot water to pour grease down the sink drain. That water always cools eventually. And usually the same distance down the drain, where it solidifies, creating a blockage. Although it's best to never put grease down the drain. If you run cold water and run the garbage disposal, the grease will solidify when it hits the cold water. The disposal will chop it into tiny pieces, and it will float down the line, creating no blockage. That people are good eyewitnesses. We aren't. Our perception of things sucks. We are prone to so many biases that we aren't even aware of. If I grade papers on an empty stomach, I will grade them lower than if I am not hungry. And I will never admit that to be true, even though it is. I was told a story by my forensics teacher a few years ago. It's been some time since I've heard it, so some details are fuzzy. My forensics teacher was going out with friends one day. After a day at the mall, their car was only one of a few in the parking lot. It was late-ish at night, so they all hurried to the car. As they were about to drive away, a drunk guy came up to the car and pulled a gun on them. Keep in mind that they all saw the dude's face. They got away fine, and reported the incident to the police. When asked to describe the perpetrator, all three of them gave a different description, despite the fact that they all saw the same guy, at the same time, from relatively the same angle. Human brains are weird. Now think about how many people are behind bars only based on eyewitness testimony. A lot of nutrition common sense is based on nothing. And/or has never been proven. I chalk it up to the fact that the human body is more adaptable than anyone gives it credit for. And that goes for diet as well as a lot of other things. And people think they can find solutions through dietary inclusions, exclusions. Or they look toward those things as something to blame health problems on. It also doesn't help that literally anyone can call themselves a nutritionist and write articles about nutrition. The average person sees that and thinks it implies credibility. But that would be a registered dietitian. Instead, there are tons of nutritionists out there spewing their own anecdotal experiences or personal beliefs as fact. When in reality, as you sort of alluded to, everyone's body is different, and beyond the incredibly obvious things, there are very few nutritional practices that will suit everyone best. When you see an emergency vehicle with sirens on behind you, you should always slow down and move to the lane or shoulder to your right. This is exactly what you should do on city roads. But on the highway, you should never brake for an emergency vehicle unless they're pulling you over or you're slowing for a stopped vehicle. Braking in front of an ambulance just slows them down and creates traffic jams. Maintain your speed and get your signal on and merge as soon as you can. And for God's sakes, stop slamming on your brakes to avoid a speeding ticket when you see a cop. Just take your lead foot off the gas and slow naturally. Driving with y'all is scary. If you know you're speeding when you see a cop, braking can tip them off because they see both your nosedive and your brake lights. People think it's common sense that if you jump into lava, you will sink. This is wrong. You can't sink in lava. Depending on what height you're at, you'll compress into it, but it will snap back and pop you back up. Similar to jumping on a trampoline but with less bounce. A very hot, on fire trampoline that will kill you. Tilt your head back during a bloody nose. I get bloody noses all the time. Always have. And the amount of times I'm just sitting there minding my own business with a tissue to my nose and somebody, usually older adults, walks by and tells me I should tilt my head back. No thank you, I don't want to flood my throat with nose blood, ma'am. That birds will abandon their chicks if the chicks are handled by humans. Not they won't. Put the baby bird back. Not only will the parent birds continue to care for a baby bird returned to its nest, but it's also possible to trick them into raising baby birds that aren't originally from their nest if you sneak them in there. Source: Kung Fu Panda. Also, life is easier when you're young. Youth is the best years of your life. Growing up, everyone always said, this is the best time of your life. Enjoy it while you can. They were super wrong. I hated school, hated being a student, and hated the lack of freedom. I work 50-ish, it varies. 40 to 72, but 52 is most common hours a week, and it's great. I have money. Freedom. I do what I want. Being a kid sucked. Really glad I came across this comment tonight, my man. Thank you. A harsher punishment doesn't deter someone from committing a negative act. Common sense would tell you that if a drug dealer is aware of a law that would sentence them to life in prison for dealing drugs, that they'll be less likely to deal drugs. However, research shows that people often don't consider the negative consequences prior to breaking the law. All fires can be put out with water. Edit: all fires cannot be put out with water, if that wasn't clear. I'm saying it'd seem like common sense to throw water on a grease fire. But don't do that. If you're in a relationship but develop feelings for someone else, break up with them, because if you truly loved them, you wouldn't love the second person. Bullshit. Don't cheat. Don't have an emotional affair. But figure out what's going on in your heart and your head before throwing away a loving relationship over a crush. One size does not fit all. Editing to include some good points of clarification made by other peeps. The point of this post is to say that before you started dating you had a crush on them. You didn't know where it was going. But you started dating to find out. And it turned into a relationship. Interest is not the same as a relationship. But it's totally possible to have interest in people even when you're in a relationship. And it doesn't mean you should 100% end the relationship when this happens. Because it could mean literally nothing. That's for you to decide. Also, talking to your partner is important. That's what I did when it became too confusing. And I wish I'd talked to them sooner. They're human too, right? Or aliens. I don't know you, and even if they haven't experienced it, they should understand it. Yes, it sucks to be the so in this situation. But it would suck more if you insisted your girlfriend of 2 years leave you because she thinks the new guy at work is cute. What you do about your feelings is vastly more important than your feelings themselves. Also, Just so I stop getting this comment, polyamorous relationships are a thing. If you are stern with the person, retail worker, food worker, whatever, you will get what you want. We are more likely to bend over backwards to help you out if you are polite and kind. And not real likely to do it if you come in assuming your time is more important than ours. Or that the world revolves around you. Tagging into that, I work in a call center. You're welcome to call in your complaints. That's why I have a job. For FCKS sake. Though. Call me after you're finished being actively angry about it. It's so much easier for me to help you when I don't have to manage both your anger and your conversation. Edit, thank you for the gold. Just throw your garbage in the parking lot. The cart people will pick it up. I mean, it's true. But at the same time, F you, cart people. Astronomer here. In honor of the equinox today. The seasons are not caused because of our distance from the sun. In fact, we are slightly closer to the sun during northern hemisphere winter over summer. Instead, it is caused by the fact that the Earth is tilted on its axis. And we get more direct sunlight in summer over winter, aka like how the sun sets earlier in winter over summer. My 7th grade science teacher basically made knowing this fact a requirement for graduating his class. There are at least 2 things I will never forget from school, this. And that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Oof, looks like you're gonna get sent back to the 7th grade. Mitochondria is plural. The mitochondrion is the powerhouse of the cell. You don't need to wait 30 minutes before going swimming after eating. This was just invented by public pools to stop people bringing food into the water. Or by parents wanting to take a nap after lunch before having to keep an eye on their children again. The concept of common sense. There's nothing common about it.